Howdy, Facebook Live. Sean Yesner here with Juliet Kyes from ActionCOACH Tampa Bay. We're recording an episode of the Crushing Debt podcast, and so I thought you'd enjoy a behind-the-scenes look as to how we record and the actual recording of the episode. So thank you, Juliet.
Yep.
And so we're going to get started here with the recording. I hope you guys enjoy and look for this episode probably in about 4 to 6 weeks. We'll get this episode posted on iTunes and Stitcher and all the other channels as part of the podcast. So thank you guys for tuning in. And are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So welcome to another episode of the Crushing Debt podcast. I am happy to have with me a guest today, Juliet Kyes from ActionCOACH Tampa Bay. Welcome, Juliet.
Thanks, John.
So Juliet and I have known each other for a while, although I actually first met your dad, Ford, in a networking group. And then from there, I met your mom, Barb, and then I met you. And so all three of you are partners in ActionCOACH Tampa Bay, right?
Yep, from the very beginning.
From the very beginning. So you've been doing it now for how long?
We're going into our 10th year this year.
That's awesome. 10 years of coaching businesses, coaching entrepreneurs all throughout Tampa Bay. You go outside of Tampa Bay, or is it all the Tampa Bay area?
Primarily it's the Tampa Bay area, although if we do get a referral outside the area, we do have some clients like Virginia, Maryland, so we have a few, but the primary are here local.
Okay. And I know you guys have won a couple of awards from ActionCOACH, right?
Yep, we have been, over the 10 years, we've been number 1, number 2 in all of North America from firms, and we've also been in the top 10 globally. ActionCOACH itself has been, is number 35 out of the top franchises in the world. So you think McDonald's is number 1, ActionCOACH is ranked at number 35 in the world.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool to achieve number 1, number 2 out of a franchise like that.
That's awesome. And so I've been a client of yours, of ActionCOACH, and I've seen what you've been able to do for businesses and companies. And so I think a lot of the listeners to the podcast may be wondering, how does ActionCOACH interact with crushing debt? And so what I've always said is there's really 2 ways to get rid of debt. One way is to negotiate it away, pay it off, file bankruptcy, do something like that. The other way to get rid of debt is to make more money. And that's where you all come in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I know that you have a system, that ActionCOACH has a system called the 5 Ways, right?
Yep.
So why don't you explain, what is the 5 Ways all about?
Well, 5 Ways has a lot of really awesome things about it. One is most businesses focus on one of the 5 ways, which is leads. So a lot of them are focused on, if I need to grow, then I need to get more leads, I need to get more marketing going. Unfortunately, that is a key. It's one of the 5, but it's the most expensive and it takes the longest to get results. So really looking at it from what are the other 5 drivers to profitability, including conversion. So you think about what are strategies that would impact how many of those leads we're actually converting. So you don't need as many leads if you can convert more into customers.
Right.
And then what are you doing with your current database? So how are you implementing strategies to get them to come back more often and buy from you again? As well as when they come back and buy from you, what are you doing to get them to buy more or to buy different things from you? And then finally, the most overlooked one of all is margins.
Right.
So, even if you just focus on marketing, if you don't know your margins, you could actually be discounting yourself out of business. You could be causing a lot of lost profit. So you're not really keeping anything at the end of the day. You're just working harder. The volume has increased, so you're busier,
right,
but you're not really seeing where the money's at.
Well, one of the things that I like about the 5 Ways is that you don't necessarily need to change all 5 of them all at the same time, right? You can tweak just one and see what happens, and then go and tweak the next one, and then go, right?
Yep.
So what are some ways maybe that you've seen maybe some of your clients implement the 5 Ways to achieve some results?
Yeah, I would say there's so many examples in margins. That's one of the first places to start if you think about those different 5 ways that I just explained, because it doesn't take a lot of money to impact margins. It's really about understanding the numbers.
Right.
So when you can really drill into by product type, what is the margin per product or service versus just looking at it as one lump, you can figure out where is the best bang for your time and your resources. So if you increase just that one product or service, your overall average margin just went up and you're keeping more money. So that's an easy one. Another one that's super easy is everyone is undercharging for their services.
Yeah.
They don't have an outside perspective on that. So they're just basing it on, their confidence level, what they think is fair. There's no real strategic method of finding out pricing. So that's a great one because it's twofer. It impacts average dollar sale, how much they're making on every sale, and it impacts margins.
Right, because and that's something that I don't know that my listeners necessarily want to know this, but it's something that I've been trying to do, actively trying to do, is inch up my prices, talking to competitors and seeing where their prices are, and figuring out where can I go up, where can I do that to make more money. What are some of the other ways the 5 ways will work? What are some other ideas?
Well, one of my other favorite places to attack is conversion rate because it's similar to margins, it's always overlooked, and it doesn't cost any money to correct it. A lot of times, conversion rate has to do with how you sell. So one of the best ways to improve conversion is to, one, document what is your sales process. So when the phone rings, who's answering it? How are they answering it? If it's your grumpy mother that's answering the phone, then you're probably needing a lot more leads than a business that has a friendly, engaging person on the phone that's been trained in how to answer the question, what does this cost?
Yeah.
If you just give an answer to what it costs and let them hang up, you've completely lost that customer a lot of times.
Well, and I know a lot of my customers get a little upset, or maybe not upset, frustrated that they can't pick up the phone and call me. And they can in some instances, and if it's a situation where I'm not available, we can always schedule an appointment. But one of the reasons that I have an assistant is to help with that, because she can then answer the phone so that there's always somebody answering the phone. She can then get those details. She can save me that time so that I can be more productive for the other clients.
Yep, exactly.
So that's one way that I've used the 5 ways, and I've tweaked and I've played with it, and I still continue to look at all those numbers, look at my financial statements. I remember going through with your mom, and we got to the module on financial statements, and I have a degree in accounting. And so I remember your mom saying, "You okay with all this, Sean?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got it. Debits and credits and profits and losses, and I'm on it. We're good." So and so that actually your Action Coach will work whether it's a product-based business or a service-based business, right?
Yeah, it's really the most ideal client for us is a more successful, established business. So when they already have some metrics to work with, so they might not understand the margins fully, but they have some accounting and they have some numbers to work with.
Right.
We'll even work with CPAs because they're looking at from a tax perspective. They're not looking at it from this growth perspective and generating more business and more profit. So we'll work with a company as long as they're pretty established and successful. We can take a lot of their numbers. So the other one is the database.
Right.
And so a lot of successful established companies have a database, but they're not doing anything with it. It's in pieces everywhere. They don't understand that, an address is one piece, an email is another, and social media is the newest database there is to work off of. And a lot of them aren't leveraging that information, and they're not even asking their customers to come back.
And you have me thinking right now, what is my database doing? Where's my, so that's probably going to be the first thing that I do after you leave here is take a look and make sure my database is under control.
Awesome.
I wanted to talk a little bit because I know Action Coach itself has a tremendous library of materials to help and all the books and all that stuff. But aside from all the stuff that Action Coach produces, your company put out a book, right?
Yep.
So talk about the book for a little bit.
Yeah, so 2 years ago, we buckled down and the whole team, so me and my parents, all spent 8 hours recording everything on each topic that's key in growing a business that could work without you, because that's what we really focus on. So what are those different things? So we went through one chapter is on marketing, one chapter is on sales, systems, team, planning, accountability. If you think about all the core things that you need in a business, and we just verbalized every single thing that we've seen work in a business. And then we had a publisher that helped us get that into written form, and then we just added even more to it. So we went through and added visuals and slides. There's downloads in it. After each chapter, there's a recommended reading list. So some of them are Brad Sugars, the founder of Action Coach's books,
Right.
but some of them are other best-selling authors on different topics. So even beyond our book, there's kind of like this guide to learning to start really doing it yourself. And we did this book, and it's actually appropriately titled for business owner. It's called OMG WTF.
I love the title.
And every time I say that to a business owner, they crack up, and a couple of them have been like, I've said that this morning already several times. But of course, we mean what's the focus, not the usual WTF.
Right.
So, and we, once we got it out, we were able to reach Amazon's hot new release, and we got #2 best in the best-selling category in our category. So that was really cool to go through that experience, and it continues. I mean, 2 years later, we still have clients that are using it and referencing back to it. So we'll be coaching a client, we're like, you need to go read chapter 5 again. So it's become this amazing tool to really help them, because it takes a few times. You have to like reread it and really work through it. It's a lot of good information.
And so that was, I guess you've already answered my next question, which is going to be, if someone's interested in picking up the book, they can find it on Amazon.
Yep.
They can get it through you. What about if somebody, because I see we're getting near the end of our time, so what if somebody wanted to contact you with questions? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
We have a website that has a lot of good information on it. It's ActionCOACHTampaBay.com, and there's a phone number on there. You know, we're a local run and operated company, so you will get a call back from one of the coaches. And, you know, our passion is very strong around giving business owners the information of how to build it so it can work without them. Because we know when we do that, whether they work with us or not, getting that insight and that information and thinking that way about a business evolves into them making more money and having more time, and that creates more jobs. It creates the space for them to want to go start another business. These are very successful, unique individuals. Not everyone is built to be a business owner. So when given the tools to free themselves up and to have cash flow, all of a sudden more opportunities are created for those who don't want to be business owners. So it creates more jobs, it creates economic development in our community. And so we do classes, we do one-on-one interactions, anything we can do to get this information out there to really help grow our community.
That's awesome. Well, we are pretty much at the end of our time, so thank you again. I appreciate you coming in, and open invite. If you ever want to come back, we can record another episode, fine by me. So that's all for this week, this week's episode of the podcast. I appreciate all the listeners that tune in. I appreciate everyone that takes their time to listen to us talk about these types of topics. And I hope you tune in next week for another episode of the Crushing Debt podcast. Cool.
Awesome.
We are still on Facebook Live, I think. Let me check.
Okay.
Yes, we are still on Facebook Live, and we've got people watching us. So thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed that behind-the-scenes look of the recording of the podcast. And you know, every time I have a guest in, I'll try to Facebook Live, assuming they agree. And I appreciate you guys tuning in as well, and we will see you next time. And where is it?